It's another beautiful day, another beautiful year. It's a brand new year. Congratulations if you can hear us, because you made it. And of course, Happy New Year. It's 2022 and it's the very first edition of the discourse here on Classic FM. I'm Sulaiman Alede. If you recall, our last edition for the year 2021, I had Liborous Oshoma, and we did say it's a two-part in a series of looking at some of the key things. And pretty much later, some other notable voices will join us to also look at, state of the states in Nigeria, as well as, looking back in time, seeing what has happened in 2021 and how 2022 can go. Today, I'm excited again that we're starting to look at this all for country. And of course, Liborous Oshoma is here again. Happy New Year, Liborous.
Happy New Year, Sulai, and Happy New Year to our listeners and my friends everywhere, including my enemies.
It's always good. You know, the excitement of a brand new year is what I'm basking in at the moment. And honestly, it's just getting closer to 2023, the big year. You know, if we were Chinese or some other Asians, perhaps they would have called it the year of the dragon. But
yeah, but for me, really, 2023, my only joy is that year 2022, we just have 1 year to bear this incompetence called governance, of this Buhari's administration. Where that's my only joy. If anybody that doesn't like it can go hug a transformer. But
you think it will work because it depends on where the transformer is.
Exactly, that's another thing. So that's my only joy. That look, we are drawing near to the end of this incompetence. We expected a change. We expected so much. We expected a government to hit the ground running, but they touched the ground aside running away from the ground. And if you remember, let me quickly take us down memory lane.
Go ahead.
And if you remember, 2016, we said, look, it is too early to judge them. Give them at least 2 years. The rot of 16 years became a slogan. The rot of 16 years cannot be cleared in just 1 month or in 100 days. And then 2 years came like that. Everything went from bad to worse. And those of us who should be calling for, change and delivering of the dividends of democracy started making excuses. PDP destroyed the country so much. And gradually, people that expected so much also, a lot of them started having a change of mindset that, look, it is clear that this government really has nothing to offer. But 2019, do you want to choose between a corrupt man and Buhari who is not corrupt? Let us, still give him more time. And then more time came with more incompetence, more killings, prices were going up. It was as if the government had no answer, no response to anything, but give it to them in terms of real infrastructure. You saw the continuity, the continuation of work done by the previous government. They took it up from there and took it a notch very high. And then the Naira came crashing. It was like the Naira was drilling oil. So for me, the joy is like as the wave moves towards the pebble shore, so does the lifespan of this administration is hastening to its end. So that's the joy for me for this new year.
Well, I think for some experts, love him or hate him, they've come to say that that move against the online FX, that was really about speculation, according to some experts, has been able to also, save the Naira from that free fall. But it's
are we truly saying that Naira has been saved from free fall at 500 and something to $1? I was saying we've saved the Naira. Okay, because it didn't get to 1,000 Naira to $1, so we've saved it.
Perhaps.
So we are happy that today, Sulai, do you know, before now, when Naira was 150 Naira to $1, we're crying that, no, this is too high, it needs to come down. And today, we're happy that Naira has been saved at 500 and something Naira to $1. So imagine somebody who had a property, who rented out his property at 5.7 million per annum in 2011, for example. And today, at that time, it was about $3,000 plus. Today, that same property, you rent it out at 10 million. It's still not up to $3,000. So we're saying, yes, we're happy that, So really, for me, we had, every opportunity to stem the tide, but we weren't doing the right thing. So business people saw opportunity and, latching on it. So I won't blame them.
So now, let's look at some of the few states we can actually look at before we wind down. And, already I see that we'll need to do this, 3 more times for us to go through all the states. But we'll take the few we can and, jump at it again in the year, specifically in the month of January. And it was only just recently someone was talking about, Lagos State, things that are working and things that are not working, and what the state should be looking into at this moment, at this point in time. And it also made front page news, I think, in The Guardian, looking at the heap of refuse that have started, coming back in some places in Lagos. And I said, wait a minute, I remember then the last governor, that was one of his albatross, one of the key things that actually pulled him down, turning Lagos into a garbage city. Now let's start looking at the states, the few we can. It's good to start from the economic capital of Nigeria, Lagos.
Yeah. You see, but another thing for me, first and foremost, is the fact that when we assess Nigeria, this is good for me. When we assess Nigeria, we hardly look at the states and the local government. We just look at the center, and that's why I think Nigeria is one big local government governed by a chairman who is the president and who distributes, largesse and finances, according to his conscience. National Assembly gradually becoming a rubber stamp. The president wants it this way, and then a few compromise here and there. So, but if we must move forward, we have to also collectively look at the states, because the state governors get a lot. They get about total budget of the country. They get about 40-something%. So that's local government and the states inclusive, because I'm adding the 21% of the local government and then 24% to the state. So 46% altogether, even though the federal government takes about, 51, and then they keep 41% for ecological fund. So there's need for us to consistently beam our searchlight on our state governors, who are gradually becoming emperors, by the day, because you have state houses of assembly that are non-existent. They are more of rubber stamps. That's why during election, the governors usually will select those who will go to the House of Assembly, and so you get there, they decide who becomes speaker. It's so ridiculous that in some House of Assembly, I don't want to mention names, on Sundays, the principal members will go to the governor's house to give him a rundown of the event for the week, or what will happen in the coming week. And then the governor will approve what should happen, and then, that's just basically what happens. So there is need for us consistently.
That looks like an appendage of the
executive arm. They are an appendage. That's why, like in my state, Edo, there is no House of Assembly. We are deceiving ourselves. And then the people,
we'll come to it,
the oppressors who should be complaining are the ones, rationalizing it. Lagos State, for example, that's why a magistrate from Benue State called me after watching some of my clips, and he said, look, when you people discuss states, please only mention Lagos, Rivers, maybe Abuja, said the rest are not state. He said, like Benue, nobody talks. The governor does whatever he wants. And at the end of the day, he will shout about the killings, and it ends there. He said, as a magistrate, I know what we are going through as a magistrate. He said, so when you people talk about Lagos, it's like you're talking about, abroad, not even Nigeria. And so that's why I tell people, in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is the king. So you still look at security in Lagos State. You say, yes, a lot of us can come to Lagos and talk the way we talk, criticize for all we care. If we were in some of these states, by now, God knows, our enemies probably would not have been alive, you know. So for that's why little things, I appreciate little things that the governors in Lagos will do. The former governor, Ambode, as good as he was, you know, started well, fantastic project, but little things like refuse. Because when you want to have it all, becomes a very big problem for you. Started, you know, by demolishing an existing structure, a working structure, and wanted to, you know, he brought Visionscape. You know, you want to have it all. And we looked at the, you know, internet, you know, these days it's like the Oracle, Mifa, Madioha. So we consulted Oracle and the Visionscape that
Oracle Google.
Exactly, and the Visionscape that they said, you know, had international repute for clearing refuse was nowhere to be found. They had never existed anywhere before. So it became a big scandal. Even amended the law to give Visionscape the only, you know, the right to collect refuse, a massive city like Lagos. And, you know, by the time they brought back, the matter was settled and they brought back those normal refuse collectors, you know, the backlog was just too much, too massive. And I think this current governor needs to, you know, work twice as hard to meet up the standard, the level that Fashola left it. Because the beautification project also that Fashola initiated, you know, was completely jettisoned and abandoned by Ambode, and I also have not seen that, you know, being taken off today.
I thought, sorry again to cut that, I thought that was going to be, you know, resurrected, especially when the man who was in charge of the environment then, Commissioner Tunji Bello,
was retained.
Yes, he's back to that very ministry. So one would have thought that the beautification you talked about during the Fashola administration, which he was a part of, should
unfortunately
have been brought back.
One thing that is common amongst these governors is that most times you find out that these the governors' ideas that are implemented by the commissioners, not even the commissioners' ideas. So you are just like a tool used by the governor to implement what he wants to do. And so for me, I think we should point this governor to these directions. And look, this beautification, you know, did a lot of magic. It wasn't much, but he did a lot of work. And I can say that, you know, there's need to start. But I saw them around the Bagada, that Mobi area, you know, under that, you know, bridge, that, you know, bridge in Bagada. I saw them planting flowers and watering those flowers. So maybe that is a Lagos State government also. And I think if most of the road, because the governor also is embarking on a lot of road construction at the same time. And a lot of people are complaining of the hardship because, you know, you're doing, you know, almost everything at the same time without alternative measures. And some of the contractors are slow, but some are actually quite fast. And, you know, if all of this, there can be, you know, alternative and palliative to ease the burden on the people. At the end of the day, we'll all, you know, smile, because the roads constructed by Ambode, there's no way we'll go back to them now to reconstruct. So, and for me, that's governance, but more on human capital development, because in Lagos today, you have just drive through Obalende, you know, from Obalende, just look at the numbers of Okada riders everywhere. You know, there's need for governors at the local level to look at human capital development. How do we harness this teeming youthful population instead of everybody going into Yahoo?
I'm happy you talked about.
Remember last week we talked about the entertainment industry.
Oh, fantastic!
You know, and the jobs that they create. Now today you have the internet. You know, what do you call it? And it's one of the fastest industry that is employing today. That's IT industry.
Okay.
The IT industry, it's, you know, one big industry, you know, that is employing to a lot of them. They can work from anywhere. So I think, you know, Lagos State government should also look at a way of looking in that direction. And because it's almost like it's the only state working on, so everybody is moving into Lagos. You can't deprive them of moving, whether you have a sellable skill or not. That's why, for me, we need to look at the state governors.
And quickly here, before I forget, because you made mention of the local development in states, and we also should give it to the state of Lagos, because Lagos State, I'll tell you for free, I remember it was during the first lockdown in 2020 that some of the roads, especially in the hinterlands of Lagos, like Ikpaja, Yobo Road, they had to construct and fix them. So now that you're saying this, and I'm hoping that the governor should also look into these people, call them the small people of Lagos, but development needs to get to them.
Yeah, in my area, from Dia Street all the way to Unilag Gate, it's under construction with interlocking stones.
So quickly, so that we don't stay here.
Quickly.
So I want you to. You also score them over 10. What are we going to give to Lagos?
For Lagos, there's enormous work to be done. There's so much to be done. But I would also say this: I have there's this program I do. I call it my advocacy, and I try to assess states.
Absolutely.
The only state that did not throw banters at me, but rather corrected what I did, was Lagos.
Awesome.
Yes. The commissioner for information, called me and tried to explain to me what they had done.
So they always reach out for clarity and say, we've been able to do X,
this
Y,
is what
Z,
I told, and I told him, I said, if you do it, we will see it. And truly, the villagers reached back to me to say, oh, sir, those things you complained about, come back and see. And I did another advocacy to say, the governor heard me, kudos. So, but that's the only Lagos state. For other states, what I got was, I've been sponsored by opposition,
we'll come to
banter. So in scoring them, I might be a little bit biased because of these things. In scoring them, and because of the enormous work to be done, I will score the governor 7.
Whoa. 7 over 10.
Yes.
So it takes us now to Ondo State. But let's not forget, because some of the key things for our listeners listening, some of the key things we may not be able to say here in terms of education, we know for sure, we've been able to speak to a lot of teachers. There's this ongoing teacher training for teachers. They go on courses, which is commendable, and also revamping of the health structures.
Is that Ondo or Lagos?
No, we're talking about Lagos, so that people can understand some of those things that were done.
See, quickly, Sulai, quickly, I must say this: our attitude, we as a people, as we are talking about governance, we also need to talk to ourselves. Because you find out, I had a principal who called me, complained bitterly that, look, do you know that funds meant for state schools, that the principals, there's what they call the contribution, and they contribute, a certain amount, and that these funds do not get to where they are supposed to get to. Funds that the Lagos State government had released to schools, and then they take out a certain percentage that were supposed to be for whether principals association at the end of. But at the end, this money is shared among members and I was marveled. So it is the same thing. Go to hospitals. The government will provide the equipment, but the attitude of the people, those that are supposed to deliver the service, is sometimes very nauseating. And so we contribute to the mess. And until we also change our attitude to these things, because once it benefits us, it is good. If it doesn't, then it is corruption.
Absolutely.
So until we all, irrespective of where we find ourselves, change this mindset and attitude, learn to hold government accountable, learn to hold ourselves also accountable, that if government does this, will I complain? Then gradually we can now begin to say, yes, we're getting there. But if we don't change our attitude, no matter how we complain, no matter what government does, it will still be a drop in the ocean.
And now, finally, we're looking at Ondo State.
Ondo, for me, the first thing that disappointed me was the fact that Rotimi Akeredolu, SAN, the former president of Nigerian Bar Association, I expected him to be, a beacon of hope, an epitome of, a new Nigeria. But the kind of governance I see compared to, when Mimiko came and you saw, I had the opportunity to drive to Akure, drove around, even though then the roads were just all patched, but you saw there's no pothole in Akure. But the kind of arrogance I see, from the current governor, Rotimi Akeredolu, I didn't expect that, but give it to him in terms of security also, with the creation of Amotekun and being the driver of the Southern governors on how to go about the challenges of insecurity, that you can't take away from him. But in terms of governance, and recently he appointed his son as I think a head of a parastatal, and he even arrogantly said, look, there's nothing wrong in him appointing his son. Yes.
But there's nothing wrong.
There's nothing wrong in it. There's nothing wrong in it. Yes, you can always point to Donald Trump doing the same thing, but Donald Trump is not a good example for me in terms of governance. And, but in a society where, almost everything is wrong with our structures, no matter how well qualified or how much you desire your son to want to take such a responsibility, there are more people who are also qualified. You want to, for the sake of not, setting a bad precedent, and also people not reading different meanings into it. There's always need for a restraint, but I didn't see that, with him. And I also would have expected. Yes, he has done a lot in terms of, creating industrial hub, but apart from that, I see a lot of. I do not. My expectations are
but
not.
Again,
mind you, we still drive through. I still drive through Ondo to get to Benin, and what do you call it? Ore. I have not seen any difference, and also I have not seen much departure from the way it was Akure the last time I went there.
So now you're talking about that passage to Benin, but we'll go to Ondo, but not until we get a score for Ondo.
Yeah, Ondo, for me, I will score Akeredolu 5.5.
5.5?
Yes, so I still give him a pass mark, because I look at, the massive work he's done in terms of insecurity, being able to challenge the status quo. A member of the ruling party, but he's been able to look at his party in the face and say, look, for this, we won't take it.
That was actually bold and audacious.
That was bold. And then, he looked at the Attorney General to say, look, Attorney General, I'm a lawyer, you're a lawyer, and everything you're saying in terms as far as Amotekun and some of these issues are concerned are not correct legally. So it takes courage to actually do that, but he needs much more than courage to govern, a backward state. A state that once had the likes of Michael Ajasin as governor. I'm hoping to have free education, for some of these states, because when we didn't have this kind of money and they were able to do it then, so I expected more.
So Edo State.
Edo, Ogbane. A lot of people who understand the meaning of Ogbane. It was a slogan. It's like it's completed. 4+4 Ogbane. It became a slogan for all of them after the 2019 general election that they do 4+4 for General Buhari. The governor of Edo State, came on the heel of fighting godfatherism, and that, just the same way Oshomole fought Aneni as godfather to a standstill, and then, Oshomole became governor, and then when he was leaving, he also wanted to become a godfather to determine who becomes governor. Then this Godwin Obaseki also, came on that mantra of yes, no to godfatherism, and today, Godwin Obaseki is not just a godfather; he's like an emperor. Edo State, I've never seen. It has never happened in the history of any state in Nigeria that you have a state without assembly, state house of assembly. It's only Edo. Remember during Oshomole, there was a battle between the members of the House of Assembly then who relocated to Abuja, even though at that time they were members of the House of Assembly. But these ones, they were not even 14 members out of 24 are not inaugurated. Contrary to the provisions of Section 191 of the 1999 Constitution. And then not recently, you have they just not too recently, appointed a chief judge of the state. And so, as I speak to you, the House of Assembly sits, in one sitting room in the government house. So imagine a House of Assembly sitting in a sitting room in government house. What kind of robust debate do you expect from such a House of Assembly? House of Assembly, those days, you remember the days of Bender State House of Assembly with speakers like Benson Alegbe, with I talked about it last week. People like Dr. Akpojaru, Oloyo and the rest.
But truly, today, what's the state of the assembly in Edo?
Today, the story is that the assembly members refused to present themselves to be inaugurated. And I laugh. Do you win election and then you go hide not to be inaugurated? How do you what's the name of this case now? I forgot it, but I remember. The Supreme Court expressly pronounced that the business of the assembly should not just be conducted in the place of the assembly, but should not be run nocturnally. It should be run in the hours meant for business between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. Do you inaugurate a House of Assembly at 9 p.m.? And then some were smuggled. Some even allege that they were smuggled to the place at gunpoint to be inaugurated. And then when the assembly members or elected members were holding meetings, the next thing was that they were invaded by thugs. And then they ran away for their lives. So you now turn around to say these people refuse to present themselves. Yeah, they went to court, and then the court pronounced that in Rivers State that the governor cannot issue a proclamation twice. But I expected the clerk of the house to, on the basis of that proclamation, because you issue a proclamation on the 14th, supposedly issued on the 14th, but that proclamation was published in the newspaper on the 19th, and then you did inauguration on the 17th. So do you light a lamp and hide under a bushel and expect the people who are supposed to see it to see it? So those are the issues. And then you have all kinds of MOU for Innovation University, MOU for Industrial Hub, MOU for this, MOU for that, what the Bidima will call Bubu Yaya. And then, so all of this, when you put all of this together for a young man, an economist, a supposed economics, a classic graduate, you expect the state to be a classical example of an industrial hub. But today is a classic example of failed MOUs. So when I call their attention to all of these MOUs and say, look, please show us these sites, they called me names, and then, the media person to the governor, started attacking my person, called me armchair critic, and, but I wasn't bothered, because I responded and I said, no, let's maintain the issues. Point me to the sites of this, your MOU. Ekiadolo teachers are at home as I speak to you. The university, the College of Education was closed down by the governor under the guise of renovation, and not a block had been laid there apart from the buildings from TED funds. Even the state university, Ekboma, and the one in Iyamo, all infrastructures, nothing. The existing state library for a state that is boasting of lifting the education in the state to the next level. Or the existing state library in Sapele Road had been allegedly, sold to a developer by the government to build a shopping mall. And then you're talking about, developing capacity, human capital development.
But
so
I think
there are even allegations.
We've seen the Edo in the news, with the street lights in the state, and also
street lights,
and also trying to move the central hospital from the city center somewhere else.
That's that building that Oshomole built and commissioned, but there were no equipment. You see, I remember when Oshomole came, what made people say I call him Oshokwik was that there were street lights in all over Benin. He constructed roads and there were street lights. For the first time in a long while, people saw street lights in Benin. Just the same way there were street lights in the city of Abuja. But when this new minister came, all of the street lights, you go to Abuja and it's a dark city. The same way Godwin Obaseki came, there was nothing. No street light. So now that they are powering the street light in Ring Road Sometimes I wonder why when we begin to celebrate street light as achievements. Even at Oshoma last time, I complained, like, we're celebrating street light. We're so backward now that we celebrate street light. Traffic lights in Benin, not one is working. So you put street light in Ring Road, where before you had street light in Ring Road, in Airport Road, Sakpoba Road, Apapava Road, Upper Mission, and all of that. Now it's only in Ring Road, and people are celebrating. The government want us to celebrate, street lights in Edo State. So and meanwhile you have 3 senatorial zones. What has been done in Edo Central, the Assam people? Nothing. Even the governor is from the south, which is Benin speaking. Nothing also, apart from fight here and there, and then when you talk, I always insist on human capital development. Today, Edo State is the 419 capital, fraudster capital of Nigeria. Ask any FCC official, they will tell you that.
And this is for real?
This is for real, So, and yet we have governors who presumably are scoring themselves high. They are performing.
Let's call Edo now so that we can look at some others.
4 over 10.
Well, that's,
at least I tried.
That's not a pass mark.
No, it's not a pass mark, but at least I tried. Because
we're hoping that
you will see
will be different.
some form of. Let's hope so. We'll see some because I had high hopes when he was elected. It took him almost 1 year to appoint commissioners, and so all of this, I would have even scored him 3, so that he would work hard to at least get to 5.
Okay, though not a state, and you mentioned in passing, is a federal capital territory. Nigeria's capital.
Yeah,
that's the only place that has a minister that should be like maybe like a mayor.
A mayor.
Or even the governor.
Right from after El-Rufai as minister of the FCT, I have not seen any minister that have been able to step up to the plate. Since the days after El-Rufai, every other minister had come and struggled to meet up with, the records that he has set in FCT. And it's quite unfortunate, really. The one that was minister under Goodluck Jonathan, I call him sleeping minister. That man had no business being a minister of the FCT, So, and that was massively the beginning of the failure of the FCT. They were just there. And I think most of these people should be better in land speculating than becoming ministers in Nigeria. No innovation, nothing at all. You can't point to anything you say the FCT, this is what the FCT is doing apart from what the federal government is doing. Oh, this is an IT hub created for innovation, not the one that Edo State recently launched, where you're launching an ICT hub, and yet you are bringing a hub that is supposed to be creating manufacturing, but yet you're bringing what had been created from wherever, is it Lebanon or where, to assemble there. And so one would have expected that the FCT would tap into this drive for knowledge to say, okay, now that the young people, a lot of them who are born into this IT era, give your kids a phone now, 2 years old, even without a manual. What that kid will do with the phone, you'll be marveled. You can't even do it. So why don't we tap into this raw talent and knowledge to find a way of creating opportunities for these kids and selling to the rest of the world? But no, we are more interested in contra bazaar and land speculation. And as I speak to you, quote me anywhere. Go to Abuja. Before you go to Abuja in the night, you drive around everywhere is well lit up. But today, the place is in darkness.
It's really a shame, honestly, knowing full well that truly this is not just coming from you. A lot of people we've spoken to in Abuja, and our listeners in Abuja, they also attest to the fact. And we have a minister who is in charge of the FCT. Quite a sad one, and we're hoping that with this analysis and this being brought to the fore again, 2022 will make a big difference. And the scorecard for the FCT minister and his team?
FCT minister, I will score the FCT minister 3.
Oh.
Yeah, because it's there's nothing. I'm even magnanimous by giving 3 because you still have a lot of people working under him and trying to ensure that, things are properly done.
Borno State.
Oh, fantastic. Great guy. And I even before I start, I will score that man 8.5.
8.5, that's higher than Lagos. Lagos is 7/10.
Yes, I'll score him 8.5.
So now let's see the reason why we have 8.5 for Borno.
Do you know, I recently he said something. He said that that if God wants him to die today, that no man can stop it. If Allah wants him to die today, that no man can stop it. That he was born poor, he was a bus driver at some point, and that he worked hard to become a professor.
Sorry to cut you. All this bus driver thing. The same thing with, is it Otom? Otom, it was
Otom.
Recently said that he was a conductor back in the day before he went to school. And he chose to celebrate Christmas with his former colleagues.
It is not where, for me, I would talk about Otom. It is not where he celebrates Christmas, but how well he has taken care of his people. We'll get there,
but let's continue with Borno State.
For Zulum, it is not where he celebrated Christmas or celebrated New Year, but, how well he's been able to impact these same people he said, he grew up with. You see him consistently. He's not the type that will shy away from insecurity. He has consistently leads from the front. We've seen him, at some point, wake up early and go for inspections, things that we ordinarily praise governors for, because Borno is in the news for the wrong reasons, because of the insecurity there, you hardly hear of these other things that the governor is doing. Apart from that, he's one person who has consistently been sincere and is somebody you can say, yes, has integrity. You see, while Nigeria today is at the verge of collapsing under ethnicity, you saw what he did with that Igbo teacher who had been on one level for years. And despite this insecurity, you still see the man, delivering governance to his people, relating with them, interacting with them, visiting them, going down to them to feel their pulse. What do you want us to do? Not what I think you need, but how do you want us to do these things so that we can actually do them? So that's governance.
So and it's actually in him, not the...
Yeah, it's in him.
Not because he's a professor. Because
that's what I'm
not
saying.
The only professor.
How was he nominated? No, forget the other professor. I don't even know how he got his professorship. How was he nominated? He was nominated on the basis of his integrity, according to Shetima. He said he gave this man an assignment. He will be the first to deliver. You give him money to execute a job, he will execute it and return. He's the only one at that time that will return money back to the coffers of the government. That was how he was nominated. He's been living
what we call change.
Yes, he's been living true to type.
It's like sending someone on an errand. Someone was said to me, do you know that this my man at the
my gate man? They bring change.
Anytime I send him on an errand, he brings change.
Yes,
that means the guy that was there before.
They package the change. There are some people you send them, so I get plenty now, so why I go bring for him? But that this man consistently. So we had seen him, he's living the APC slogan of change. He's the only governor in APC you can say, yes, truly is living the APC slogan of change. So that's why I'm scoring him 8.5, because there is still a lot to be done. The order is not entirely within his capacity to do. But he's true to type. He's been able to at least impact his people, and they all speak well of him. To say, even some people are even projecting him for, vice president with Oshibanjo, that if these two people, can, that's for them, so
that's a discourse for another day.
Yes, that's a discussion for another day. Talk about competence.
Yes, competence.
Even though a lot of people will not agree with Oshibanjo because of the Buhari's factor, but give it to Oshibanjo. He's somebody that, the only time he acted as president of Nigeria when the president was away, we saw motion actually. We saw movement actually, and we saw motion. not, and when Baba came, Baba, started banning and unbanning everything again. So for Zulum, I think is, a leader we should project. These are the kind of leaders we should be projecting from this 2022.
So Zulum got 8.5. What about River State?
River State, 8.5 or so.
Let us in on some of the key things.
For me, I also recently, like I told you, I was doing an analysis of, the governors, their performance. And for me, I also said I've bashed some. I also need to talk about those that have performed. It is not just all about bashing. Zulum, Wike, and Ebonyi State Governor. For Wike, do you know that the money that Wike had used to achieve what is done, it's not up to what Amechi got in his time. But Amechi was immersed in politics, bitterness, and he derailed completely. Even the monorail he couldn't complete, at a point from an insider source that had worked with both Wike and Amechi. And that at a point Amechi said, now he wants to become governor, let me even know how we pay salary. But consistently, the man has exceeded payment of salaries. He's been able to, not just build community health centers. He's been able to, initially, Amechi, one of Amechi's manifestos or projection was that they were going to have another university. But Wike did not build another university, but rather he decentralized the existing universities into multiple campuses and in the villages. And one of the things that attract development to the villages, it's this university establishment.
Absolutely.
So Wike has been able to do that. He's been able to also, you can say it's loquacious, it's very loud. That's the kind of governance that Nigerians need. Say it as it is. My face, no, they fear your face kind of governance. So he says it raw. He's a very raw person. But in terms of putting his money where his mouth is, give it to him just like Zulum. He told Julius Berger, look, I am awarding this contract to you now during rainy season. I'm giving you money now during rainy season. Not when I call for commissioning, you tell me rain fall because you are collecting my money during rainy season. So I don't want to hear stories. That's what Nigeria needs. Now, Nigeria should be turned into a massive infrastructural hub. Reconstruction everywhere.
And it's possible.
It's possible. But one thing I don't like about Wike is the fact that he's too brute. He's too brash. Look at what he did to, remember during the lockdown, the hotel he demolished despite a court order restraining him. And then...
and he's a lawyer.
Yes, and he's a lawyer. A member of the body of benchers for that matter. And then recently, all the civil servants he's been engaged in urban renewal, so he's turned Port Harcourt to something entirely different, and recently in his drive for urban renewalship, he just evacuated the senior civil servants from their quarters, and you don't treat civil servants that way, retiring civil servants, permanent secretaries, and then directors, and expect the existing ones not to steal. All in the guise of, look, we want these old houses are old. We want to build new ones in these places. And then some people are also not, some people don't believe that truly he wants to, rebuild those places. They probably think they want to allocate those land as parting gifts to themselves.
And let's move on. Abia State.
Abia is the worst state in Nigeria. A lot of people have asked me, what's your interest in Abia? What's your interest in Abia? You always talk about Abia, you don't talk about Edo. I said, no, I talk about Edo, I talk about Abia. Because I had the privilege of, living in some part of Abia, in Aba precisely those days, and in Arochukwu village. When people talk about this Arochukwu, I've lived in Arochukwu from, Amuvi, Asaga, Obenkita, Ibom, Amanagu, even to Ohafia. Those where you hear of Ohafia war dance. Some of the Igbo people listening to me that know that area will know what I'm talking about. So I have a connection and I have relations, from these areas. So that's why I've always been interested in what happens to Aba, because Aba ordinarily by today would have become the Japan of Africa. Remember those days, everything was made
Isn't
in
that
Aba.
what the governor is doing?
As a young boy,
We saw the boot manufacturing company for the military hardware, some few other things.
that's what I thought too until I went back home to Aba. You know, and as a young boy, I used to go to Aba. In Benin then, you know, there were these tailors in Agboma, that make
Agboma
suits.
tailors.
Agboma tailors. And then I used to go to Aba to make suit. I'll take measurements. I would then take the materials to Aba or go to Aba, give the measurement to tailors in Aba, and they'll make the suit. I bring them back to Benin to sell. I used to take, we'll go to Abiele, take 9 bus or use 9 bus from...
the Agbo Park.
No. There's this place in Benin that never used to sleep. 9 buses, will bed there. Yaro Park. We used to take 9 buses from Yaro Park all the way to Port Harcourt.
I don't know if that area still sleeps now, because back in the day, it never sleeps.
You want hot rice by 3 a.m., go to Yaro, you will get hot rice at 3 a.m.
We need to bring back,
those 9s live. We used to take 9 buses. I used to take 9 buses from Yaro to Port Harcourt, then just take a bus, from Port Harcourt to Aba, and then back to Benin the next day, get all the clothes and then bring them back. So only for me to get back to Aba recently, and Aba was like, the dirtiest town you can think of. Nothing was happening. And I was like, I did a video, who will rescue Aba? And then I stayed back, I did election petition in Abia State, stayed in Umuahia, and I discovered that Umuahia as a state capital was like a glorified local government headquarters. By 7 p.m., Umuahia had gone to sleep. Even the governor was not sleeping in Umuahia. He comes from Aba. Then one day I traveled that road from Umuahia to Aba on that old Umuahia Aba road that goes to Ogbo Hill. And the road the governor drives through every day was not motorable. And I'm like, what kind of a man is this?
And you sure he drives through that?
Yes, I drove behind him in one of those convoys. I had pictures. So I took my time, and I'm like, I went back to Uturu. I remember then in the university in Ekpom, I used to go to Uturu.
They have a campus there.
Yes, the Abia State University. Going to Uturu then was... And then I couldn't even access Arochukwu. I couldn't go back to Arochukwu through Bende, Utu to Hechowa. So to tell you, I know this area very well. And I'm like, and you have a governor in these states? And then when I complained, a lady saw me, funny enough, saw me at Aba North headquarters local government. The lady came to me and like, I see you on TV. Please, you people should talk about Aba. Please, help us. And like I said at the beginning, this state's House of Assembly are rubber stamps. So, and then because the states, you have governors and the political leaders as emperor, you complain, they know you, they know your family, and you're threatened. So please, you people should in Lagos help us talk about Aba. Then when I talked about it, everybody was happy. And recently also, the NBA were compelled to say, look, we want to draw attention to all the infrastructural deficits in the state. And mind you, Abia State is so close to Ebonyi. Ebonyi with little resources. The man is there constructing and reconstructing
Before you get
roads.
into Ebonyi, can we score Abia State?
Abia, 2. For me, it's the lowest.
And now we're in Ebonyi State.
Ebonyi, yes, because Engineer Mahi, he thought probably he would get the nod of the party, and so he decamped to APC, but he's lost there, just like our professor in Cross River. The Umahi with little resources, you could see him, turn around, build roads, build bridges. Ebonyi is a state you don't pass Ebonyi to anywhere. It leads to nowhere. So it's just like Yobe State. Even though because of the road constructions, you can take Yobe to Borno, but Ebonyi is like the end of the eastern states. So it's so close to Abia that people in Abia consistently compare Ebonyi and Abia. And mind you, a lot of these people all live in Aba, because those days, if you say in the eastern part of Nigeria, if you say anybody has traveled to the city, it's presumed that they went to Aba. They all have houses in Aba. So they go to Ebonyi, Abakaliki, that was a backwater town under the old Imo State, under Sambakwe, and they see what Abakaliki has been turned to with flyovers everywhere, even though little traffic, but projections for the future in case, just like they did with Akwa Ibom when Akpabio came, that, you know, in the days that the traffic will grow, you know, but you see the flyover being constructed by this current governor for 6 years. Oshoma, they even call it Oshoma Center Table now in Aba, had been there. Meanwhile, Umahi had constructed more than 4 within the same period. You know, so, and then the Abakaliki rice, you saw what he did with Abakaliki rice, how the state have been able to tap into agriculture, and you know, but even though they have a lot, much more to do, you know, in terms of that, unlike what Kebbi did, collaborating with other states. Abakaliki does not really need to collaborate. You just need, what they need is to produce, and people will naturally buy. There's markets. Even for the Eastern, they can't satisfy the Eastern state alone, not talk about Nigeria.
I think two years ago, I got a bag of Abakaliki rice.
Yes, so there's a lot going on in that area in terms of, you know, destoning and production of rice, you know. So, and because of that, because I know Kocharis also have, you know, a farm now in Anambra. So that's what actually, and then I would give it to the federal government policy on, you know, encouraging agriculture. Give it to Buhari in terms of that. He's also been able to do well. So that it's not always about knocking the federal government. So that had also encouraged, you know, local production of rice. So in that aspect, Abakaliki also has done well. But apart from that, the states really need also to do much, because they it's still purely a civil servant state, a civil service state. The agrarian nature of the state, only a percentage of it had been tapped into by the state government, just like Benue State. Only a very minute percentage has been tapped into.
Well, I think you're spot on there, because since the time of Sam Egu till this moment, there's been steady, you know, increase in development in Ebonyi State. Go across the local governments, Zangbo or Hozara, Afikpo North and South.
Yeah.
Once upon a time, the only means of transportation in Ebonyi State
was Okada.
Yes. Onaga.
Inaga.
Yes,
they call it Inaga.
Yes, with all the dusty roads.
Yes,
and now today,
but today, give it to this man.
So a score point for Ebonyi State.
Yes, 7.5.
No, 7.5.
Yes, 7.5.
This man, you
I'm magnanimous with Max.
You left Lagos at 7, and
yes, you know why? Because of the resources that comes to Lagos and the enormity of the work that is to be done. The resources that comes to Ebonyi is little compared to what comes to Lagos.
Let's close with Cross Rivers and Benue.
Yes, quickly.
Because
Cross River. There's, you know, Ayade came with a lot of hopes. Before I continue, I'll score Ayade 4. Came with a lot of hope, high-sounding, guillotine, budget of kinetic crystallization, budget of what do you call the other one? Merismetis, Olympotis Merismetis. You know,
so you were able to remember all
yes,
that?
Yes, if not for time, I remember all the 7 and 6 or 7 budget names. You know,
I wonder.
Olympotic Merismetis, kinetic crystallization, budget of calm. I forgot it, but I don't want to dwell much on that. You find out that Ayade, you know, he comes with all kinds of bogus names. It's like he has a brain wave. You know, the crying governor, I call him the crying governor. He will tell you, oh, look, I want to turn Calabar to California so that, you know, it will be the most beautiful on earth, city on earth. He called it Calas Vegas. You know, Las Vegas. So he said he wanted to turn it to Calas Vegas. But till today, Calabar is what Donald Duke left. Because I go there a lot. I have a lot of friends. That
was Imoke before Donald Duke.
Yeah, Imoke was the sleeping governor who even admitted, oh, now I'm awake. So the same thing, the House of Assembly. I have a friend who is a member of the House of Assembly. I visit there. So nothing, even the Kala, what the devil call it, he wanted to turn to a banana hub. As I speak to you now, that land is still there, the way the governor came to commission it. Some of the rice, remember he talked about rice. You know, when my friend Agba Jalingo used to promote him.
They got an airline, a carrier, right?
No, what they got, I think he purchased a plane. Yeah, he called it Cali Air, but it was one plane that he bought, and it is being operated by Aero, not even Cali Air. So it's been operated by Aero. Unlike the Akwa Ibom Air, they have fleets of airlines, and so you see but the man would want to copy, and at the end of the day, you know, he copies wrongly. You know, with high sounding words, really, you know, a little, just a little to show for it. Then quickly, Benue.
Yes, Benue.
Because of time. Benue also, I will score him 4. 3 for insecurity. You know, he's been able to draw attention to the insecurity, and he's been able to set up, he started the anti-grazing law, and that has also, you know, gained acceptance in the South. But apart from that, that's where it ends. The civil servants in the states are dying of hunger. They are also calling his attention to the hunger in the land.
That's the food basket of the nation.
Yes, the that basket is almost empty, thanks to the insecurity, and then the fact that my wife is from Benue. So these places I go to, thanks to the fact that they are also not able to process this food. Yam, Zaki Biam has the largest yam market in the entire West Africa. Benue has citrus. They have a mango as big as your head. You know, they call it Peter and Paul mango, Julie mango, big, massive. But remember, we had a minister of agriculture from there.
Don't mind Liborous. You know, we're on radio. If you've seen my head, I don't think there'll be any mango.
A mango as big as my head. I'm telling you. Don't worry, I will bring one for you.
I can't wait.
I am telling you. But yet, these mango oranges are rotting away. My uncle followed me to Vandekia, and he said, "Oh, Liborous, let's buy orange of 100 naira. Let's just 500 naira, so that we will, just have oranges. Then we can later buy to take home." 500 naira orange was a full basket. Wow. You know, so because they are rotting away, no processing. Well, we were talking about cattle. The Koge cattle ranch created by the...
We're really out of time, Liborous, honestly. But so far, we've done well. We're able to look at Lagos 7/10, Ondo 5.5/10, Edo 4/10, FCT 3/10, Borno 8.5/10, Rivers 8.5/10, Abia 2/10, Cross Rivers 4/10, Ebonyi 7.5/10, Benue 4/10. And this is where we'll round off today. We're hoping that we'll bring Liborous in the month of January to wrap up on some of these ones. And we're hoping that these states should also key in and see what they can do for the people.
And quickly, because I know some of these spokespersons of the state will challenge my rating. I'm available for them on this program. I am available with facts and figures.
And the discourse will give the platform to any of the spokesperson, any of the states. And so far, we've given an open invitation to any of the state governors or their spokesperson to come on the discourse to speak on some of these key things.
Talking about their state achievement and not Buhari.
No, we're not talking about President Buhari. By the way, congratulations to all those who had that fantastic free train ride. And I saw pictures. We must also give it to the president and the last president. And the pictures, by the way, if you ever saw any Liborous, they were looking like not Nigeria. You know, when we talk about...
Yes, that's why Nigeria. I said anytime I criticize this government, the killings and the rest, I always give them that...
So we'll bring Liborous again. That's a wrap on the discourse. And once again, an open invitation to the governors, 36, and the FCT minister, and your spokesperson, whoever wants to be on the show. Hey, it's free of charge. Come and we'll let you speak to your people as we gauge what we've highlighted on the show. I'm Sulaiman, and many thanks to Liborous Oshoma, and Happy New Year again, Nigeria.
And that's it on The Discourse, brought to you by MTN.